So 2 things before we start. I've never given a talk to this many people. I also have a wicked cold. Yeah, it's going to be great, guys. I've been drinking beer to get over it. Okay, cool. I'm Andy. I work at Forward 3D, just around the corner. You should listen to me because I was a university sysadmin once looking after thousands of boxes under Nagios. I know Nagios probably better than anyone else in this room. That's a bold claim. If you want to beat me up, I'll be in the pub later. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. I think we all know it, but I'm going to enunciate exactly why it sucks, and then I'm going to suggest what else we could do with it. So please stop using Nagios so it can die peacefully. So who here uses Nagios? Hands? Oh, thank God, because otherwise this was really not going to work at all for me. I use Nagios too. Random person who put the hand up, why did you choose Nagios? Anyone who put the hand up?
Chosen for me, yeah.
Okay, that's a good reason. Anyone else who actually chose it?
Popular, mature, established, plenty of plugins.
This is beautiful. This guy's writing my slides. This is perfect.
The UI's pretty.
Security. This man appears to be clinically insane.
Change is bad, and it's what we're used to.
Okay, so I'm going to challenge
Does
this.
anyone want to rewrite my Puppet modules?
Yeah, you know what? That's my one over there. Okay, so the reasons for choosing Nagios is the plugin system is so stupid simple. Like, it returns 4 codes, 0, 1, 2, 3. Right? Easy. Really easy to understand. It's not...
Have you looked at the performance data? What's easy about that?
Yeah, that's not.
We'll get to that. So there are billions, hashtag start, of existing plugins. There are so many plugins. You can find a plugin for anything. I was Googling for some weird Cisco wireless LAN controller the other day. Plugin does everything. Install it, bang, done. Fantastic. It's been going since 98, I think, when it was called NetSaint. And you can hire people who are in this room right now who absolutely know it. Everybody uses it except me. I use it actually now. I wrote this when I didn't use it. Now I use it again. There's probably someone in here who uses Zabbix, and
I'm in the back as well.
I hate you. I have a Zabbix. It's terrible. So yeah, the reasons you would choose Nagios. So we all picked it. Those of us who picked it is because it's a safe default choice, right? You can hire people who know it. You've probably already run into one in your life. Like, it's very hard to get to this point in your career where you're sitting in this room and you haven't done something with Nagios. We've grown accustomed to what sucks about it. We've got Stockholm Syndrome, right? We're kept prisoner by this piece of shit. And we're like, I kind of love you, like in this weird kind of twisted way. So let's kill it, basically. Let's escape our captor. So what it gets right, it gets a few things really, really right. The plugin model, it's so beautiful. If you've worked with any other monitoring technology, it's so perfect, right? You put some lines out, stand it out, you return an exit code, you can write it in anything as long as you've got an interpreter there to run it. Fantastic. It's got SSL. I mean, it's not very good, but it's secure on the wire. That's cool. Conceptually, it's pretty simple. If you stay away from weird inheritance and service groups and all that random shit, it's pretty simple. And it's really reliable. When was the last time your Nagios crashed or segfaulted? It just doesn't, right? It works perfectly. Sorry?
Thing a while back.
I had the what thing?
There was a time thing a while back where everyone...
Yeah. Even Java had that. Come on. Time's hard. We know time's hard. Nagios, I hate the let me count thy ways. It doesn't scale. It really does not scale. What's a Nagios cluster? It doesn't exist. I'll touch on mod Gearman, and no one said mod Gearman. Good, that's going to be good. The most horrible configuration bar sendmail.
But if you read some of the if you read the docs, there's a way to make it not as horrible. So there you go.
Yeah, if you can understand inheritance, please, by all means, explain it to me, because I don't get it, even after all this time. Oh, that guy might know more than me. Shit, my original premise is off. Never mind. In this day, assuming a static infrastructure is death, right? Shit doesn't live very long, at least not in my environment. It comes up, there's 100 of them, then they're gone. It's no good. You can't get data out of it at all.
What's the world's first most horrible configuration?
Sendmail. I can't believe you didn't immediately jump to sendmail. Have you ever written a master.cf? Jesus Christ. This is very much more audience participation than I expected. I should be doing stand-up, apparently. I blame the cocodamol I've been eating all day. If I catch you parsing status.dat, in my organization, I will beat your ass. That is not a way to get out of it. You get this lovely perf data, lovely. It throws it away. And it says in the docs, like, you should do something with this. And it's been like that since 1998. I once went in the IRC channel for Nagios and asked about the wire format for NLPE, because I was going to write a Ruby implementation of it. And I got loads of, like, I don't know, do you know? No, I don't know, do you know? Look at it sometime, watch it over the wire. It's fucking horrible. It pads every packet, it's mental. Anyway, skip over that. Right, so it's terrible, right? I've established that. In these days, right, you should have one true source for your configuration. It shouldn't be, on the server I have one thing, on the client I have this other thing, and if they don't line up, the world ends, right? You just get loads of, like, command so-and-so is not defined. You're like, that's really fucking helpful, what's going on? This is madness. It's complete madness. Stop doing this. You can't scale it. Every check you add adds load to your Nagios master. What are you going to do? Make it bigger. I think mine is a C1 extra large now. That's costing me $600 a month. The fuck? This guy hates it. That's my boss, by the way, not just some random guy in the audience. The more checks you have, the more fucked up the scheduling gets. And sometimes it's like, that's a check that runs on every 5 minutes, hasn't run for 20 minutes. Oh, because it's too busy. Right, it's useless. There's mod gearman. It still sucks, right? Yes, you can distribute the work off to slaves, but still only one master. The master dies, nothing gets scheduled. You've got no idea what's going on whatsoever. API poverty. If you've ever tried to integrate anything with Nagios, like getting data out of it, it's impossible, right? You can write an NDO module, but then if you fuck up, Nagios will crash. Awesome. You can pass status.dat, but I'll, you know, as I said, beat your ass.
Kill the page. Screen scraping.
You can take your mate and you can get out, all right?
We're not going to have an audience there.
I know. The reason I'm last is because I asked Simon to put me last, because the rest of you are going to beat me up. I'm going to a pub in Hackney after this. I'm not telling you where. The static infra thing's a really big deal. You have to tell the server about it. I don't know if you do it the way I do it, but, you know, Puppet runs on client, export a resource, then it's got to run on the master. I'm running it as quick as I can. As soon as the run finishes, it's running again. Like, it's no good. I can't work with this anymore. So we make some Band-Aids, right? I've used OpsView, I've used Asinga. I haven't used Shink, and I've also used a Nagios, which is a fairly new one, written in Python. They're okay, but they're just Band-Aids on the top. You can pass data to that, again, I'll beat your ass. NDO. Some people have improved the client wire format. OpsView's NLP has patches so you can return more data. NRD was a short-lived Perl thing. I don't know if anyone's still using that. Still in use at UCL. Sorry, Nadia. Who used to work at UCL. And you can use config management to get around how horrible the config files are, but all that does is move the horrible config into a nice config management system. Awesome. Take-home point. If we keep using Nagios, we'll never get anything better. I really hate what I wrote on this because I've just realized what I wrote. It's the monitoring system we deserve, but not the one we need right now. I apologize for that. Writing monitoring systems is really, really hard, and people need to get behind something else. Otherwise, nothing's going to get better. We're just going to keep using Nagios over and over again, and I'm going to kill myself, basically, is what's going to happen if I go to another company using Nagios. So, smart guy, what do we do? Well, I did say it got some things right. So let's steal the things that are great. Let's apply them to something else, right? Let's stop doing like Zabbix routes and auto-discovery. That's shit. Who does auto-discovery? What's the fucking point of that? Like, I know where my estate is. I have config management. I don't want things like auto-discovery. They don't help me in any way at all. This doesn't mean writing your own monitoring system. Like, I see people talking about this all the time. And about once a week, in the GitHub Digest one, there'll be some repo that's been starred and someone's written their own monitoring system. And you look at it for about 10 minutes, you go, okay, well, that's shit, and you've wasted your company's time. Like, why do this? You're not smart enough. Sorry, you're not. So don't do it. I don't care how smart you are. What other things are people using? Shout out. Anything.
Siren.
Like this guy, because that's going to feature in a minute. What else are you using? Observium. Are you using what?
SNMP.
Are you a network engineer? Then what the fuck are you doing using SNMP? You've got better things. It's not. It's terrible. It's terrible. 3 hours trying to figure out what OID I got the fan status out of a Cisco controller the other day. Jesus.
So when Nagios came up with all the same stuff.
This is different, Tom.
Okay, right, yeah, we'll get into this. What? You and you, come stand at the front, yeah? Right, we probably shouldn't write our own, because that's probably not a good idea. We're not smart enough, all of us, really. We should probably try and... Okay, so I know some guy here, Tommy Hall, he's definitely smart enough, but the rest of us, no, we're not Tommy Hall caliber. You see, I managed to get that into a talk, you can hate me later. What I suggest we do is that has anyone heard of OMD, Open Monitoring Distribution? It's basically Nagios plus PNP for Nagios plus live status and all that other random shit that Matthias Kettner guy, I hope he's not in the room, writes, so you know who he is. Bundle it all together in a really nice package. And it works really, really well, but it's still Nagios. So I suggest we make a new OMD, right? Not orchestral movements in the dark. Although that would be cool too. Music go. felt dead. These are the 6 things I think you need from a monitoring system, and I'm going to go through each one and suggest a tool that we could use and how we could integrate it together, right? So we need a core, right? And the core's responsibility is these 4 things and no more, right? Keep it nice and simple, okay? Unix philosophy, one tool for one thing, right? It needs to know about where the hosts are and what the services are, but only it should know about that. The client shouldn't give a shit. They should just need to know where the master is. That's it. It's got to be distributed so that, EC2 can kill that instance, my master, because, I don't know, it's Thursday and they've decided they want to turn it off. It needs to push the check and collect the check. That's it. That's all the core needs to do. It doesn't need to do anything more than this. And this guy at the back can see exactly where I'm going with this, which is there is something we can use for this called Sensu. I don't know if anyone's... Do you know what? I used it for the best part of 3 months, and I came to the same conclusion. But I was using 0.9, I think, and I was messing with 0.12 the other day, and they seem to have fixed a lot of the things that are broken.
It's still shit.
Shit's an improvement.
Okay, right. I'd be interested to hear why you think it's shit afterwards, but I think it could form the core of this monitoring system, right? It doesn't do everything. That's the mistake I think people are making with it. Like, people are tweeting at Portatech all the fucking time, like, what's the UI? It's like, no, it's not for that. It's described as a monitoring router. It basically allows you to make checks and then do things with them. That's all you really need to do. Here's a horrible diagram I got from the Sensu website because I was too ill today to draw my own. So basically what you have is, in the center you've got RabbitMQ. You can have multiple RabbitMQs, wonderful, that's HA, fantastic. Servers, these are Sensu servers, they sit, and what they do is they publish onto a queue, hey, anyone who is a web server, please execute this check and push the result back onto the result queue. Sorry, what was that? You're not convinced?
Never mind.
Okay, well, wait till I get to the end. As I said, I'll be at a pub in Hackney. Extra prizes for finding me and beating me up later. So the servers publish the make a check, and the clients do the check and push it back. So that's awesome. We've got this connection there. Like, the server can go down, no checks happening. Okay, maybe not. That's not the point I was going to make. You can cluster RabbitMQ, and you can have as many of the servers as you want. They will just distribute the check load between themselves automatically. It's fantastic, in theory. The API, basically events end up in Redis, and the API is reads from Redis to determine like what state things are in. So cool, we've got a really good disconnection between all the parts here. It is RabbitMQ, and to address the point, I did run into problems when we moved to EC2 that RabbitMQ depends upon long-lived TCP connections, and if that's between AZs, sometimes they just get reset for no apparent reason. And at the time, Sensu did not recover well from that. But as far as I can see, they've now fixed all the bugs associated with that. This is what a check configuration looks like. So you can see, it's just JSON, right? You can distribute this shit everywhere. You can write it really, really easily, and you can just stick a load of these in a config directory, and when the client starts, it'll just collapse it all together. It's so amenable to config management. So you can see that this check only has to exist on the server. It runs anyone who is subscribed to production. That's a really crap example, like web servers or whatever, Redis servers. And it will, when the check is critical, which is again the Nagios exit values, it'll push them through those handlers. Fantastic. We've got a monitoring routing system here. It just does that. That's all it needs to do. Fantastic. You don't have to tell the server about the client. The client just connects. It needs to know where RabbitMQ is. That's it. That's all it needs to know. The rest of it is Nagios return codes. And yeah, it doesn't talk directly to the server. There's a wonderful disconnection there. You can cluster RabbitMQ easily. If you've done it, please tell me, because I cannot get it to work. It doesn't seem to matter how much I swear at it. So that's our core, right? It fills all of these holes, right? We've got the core of the monitoring system, right? Other bits that we need, right? We've got the agent, which is, I talked about in with that. I like graphing in my monitoring system. Don't know about you. PNP for Nagios sucks. It's RRD. It's terrible. It's just pointless. Have you ever used that graph for anything at all? It's no use whatsoever. Obviously, you knew what I was going to say. Like, if you didn't know that, then you should probably just leave. Graphing's easy now. We've got Graphite. It's friggin' awesome. Sensu has two kinds of checks. It has checks and metric checks. And metric checks, every time they fire, push an event into Redis, which includes that perf data. And there's a handler already pre-written that will push that to Graphite. It's fantastic. Bang. We've got our perf data in Graphite. So that covers the graphing. Like, now you're collecting all this metric data. What are you going to do with it? Like, normally you only look after there's a problem, or when you sort of vaguely suspect that something's not quite right. Anomaly detection. I think this is actually going to be like the next big thing for people who are just collecting all these metrics. What the fuck are you even doing with them? Like, maybe you have 5 checks. That's probably what I've got. Oh, there's quite a lot of errors. That's a bad thing, I guess. Like, is that anomalous? Is it normally that error-y? I don't have an answer. Sorry. I'd love to hear if anyone is doing anomaly detection and knows of a tool for it that isn't one of the two I've just listed. StatsD does anomaly detection.
There's a bolt-on for the top of it that SE did as well that does anomaly detection.
That's not Skyline or Oculus? Oh, okay, cool. Thank you very much. Grok, we got the open beta of it. It's got a mobile app. Great, awesome. Because I sit there all day looking at my anomalies on my mobile. I look at different things on my mobile while I'm having a poo. Anyway, I don't know of any other tools. So we'll have to skip that one for the time being until we've got something. Alerting, right? Alerting's not the responsibility of your monitoring tool. Like, what is it doing sending people notifications? It's just there to check that things are broken. That's it, right? There's this really good project that's been going for a while called Flapjack, which this guy at the front talked about. It's really, really, really cool, and you should have a look at it, because even if you're using Nagios, like, you can just pump your alerts out there, and you can control the alerting in nice JSON, and it's really sexy. It's got quite a nice web interface as well. So what we could do in our hypothetical monitoring is we just push everything in Flapjack and configure Flapjack to push our events out wherever we want, right? That's awesome. We've disconnected the notion of monitoring and alerting. It's really good. You should definitely take a look at it. So that covers the alerting part. Okay, we need a UI, right? We need to be able to go to, nagios.yourcompany.com and see, this is broken. I can see some graphs. I've got this many hosts, that kind of shit, right? Because we've got our graphing, so we can easily use the graph URL API. We can talk to Flapjack over its REST API to see where the alerts are going. So we can build a UI on top of this. That's the only thing we don't have. That's the things you need. When it's broke, what's broken? Okay, I know it's broken, shut up. Look at some graphs and see everything that's in your estate. There is something called a Sensu dashboard. It sucks. Don't bother. It's so sucky. Sensu admin sucks as well. It's terrible. You can't see the history of what's happened. Acknowledgements don't always seem to take for some reason. There's no graphing. You can only see things that are broken. And sometimes I want to see things that are okay. I want to look at host, and I want to see, okay, these things are all fine, cool, but that one's broken. Oh, okay, that's interesting. You can't get that with Sensu dashboard. It's total blow. I don't even know why they put it out there. It's terrible. I'm going to have to write a UI. I don't want to, but that's the missing component here. Like, we can get away with that anomaly detection for the time being, but we need a UI.
Have you come across Graph Explorer on top of Graphite?
Yes, I have. And again, that would be a really useful thing to integrate into it, but these are the components of the UI. It's not going to be that on its own. I'm gonna iframe out to that or whatever to produce my graphs. Okay, once I've got all these tools in place, the UI can really easily grab them all together. So we've all got REST interfaces or some kind of URL API. I'm going to have to write one. I am going to write one, and in 6 months' time, I may have got around to it. I don't know. Look at my GitHub. So yeah, we don't have a UI, but we've got all the other components to replace Nagios. We just need to stop using it. In summary, Nagios sucks. It's terrible. It's awful. There are so many problems with it. It was made in 1998. That's like the #1 problem with it. We've got good tools for everything else. We really do these days. We're so spoiled for good tools. And if we can package them together into something awesome that you can just like, it comes in a bloody omnibus package, right? That's a thing people are doing now, right? Big ass omnibus package, slap it in opt. I've got all that shit ready. Bingo, job done, right? Life is a lot better for all of us. Thank you. So now you've got like 10 minutes to now tell me I'm wrong before I escape to a secret location out the back door. Go.
So have you looked at how sensing models events and states?
In what sense?
Well, basically how it tells when something's broken or not.
Well, it does it by executing a Nagios plugin or
No, but I mean fundamentally what it does. The idea is that you subscribe to these events and you get state transitions, but fundamentally I don't think anyone's ever tried to use it like that. It's a bit strange in that you get, like no one's kind of thought too much about what happens when you go between a warning and a critical and back to a warning again.
Yeah, that's kind of
a bit broken around the edges.
It is a little broken around the edges. It is immature. I mean, it's 0.912 or something. It's because no one's really using it, because the people that are using it are Sonian, and they've obviously got some internal shit they're not releasing that makes it usable for them. I don't have a good answer for that at the moment, to be honest with you.
It's all hardwater or off.
You what, sorry?
Like Sean left Sonian and went to hardwater off.
Oh, okay. I mean, like...
Flapjack had better state tracking than Sensu.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So why wasn't that one of your monitoring routing?
What, state tracking?
Yeah.
You mean transition between states?
That's the website. The very first words are monitoring, notification, and routing.
So, like...
What do you think is missing compared to Sensu?
It's doing the thing that all people who write their own monitoring systems are doing. They're making one monolithic tool. And they're going to be good at a couple of things, but they're going to suck at the rest of it. Why are we persisting in creating monolithic things where...
I still answered the question, which was, what do you think Sensu is doing that it isn't?
What the Flapjack isn't doing? I haven't actually looked at the publishing checks part of it. I didn't actually believe it could do that.
Flapjack doesn't check.
Yeah, no.
Flapjack receives events from your monitoring
Yes.
system, and it manages state and it manages the list. It doesn't take care of the actual checking or scheduling or anything like
Yeah,
that.
it's
all
Yes. I broke the audio.
The job is done. The original version of Flapjack used to be a sort of generic monitoring tool.
Yeah.
Lindsay realised that was insane. It was a massive job.
Yeah.
And then focused on...
Yeah, and now the new ones come out. Yeah, exactly that. That's where I first heard about it, and then I watched him destroy the project and rebuild it, and it's actually it's the perfect alerting solution now, I think. Go, by all means, just shout out. I'm not pointing at people.
You know, what gets us, I guess, is when you have a this check alert, for example, you know, especially out of hours, because out of hours and in hours kind of different alerts as well. So he gets a 75%, then he gets a 76%, and you triggers the alert, especially on the Nagios end, where the triggers defined on the host and on the server, like Zabbix, for example, or an open, you know. I don't care about that. I just want to know when it gets to 100%. Is it going to get to 100% by the time I get to my desk tomorrow morning, or I can do something about it?
That's a really, really hard problem.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't have an answer for it. I'm not proclaiming to be an oracle here at all.
Closure. Put all your rent into remit. You can do a sum of least squares over a time box, and it will page you if you're not going to get to your desk tomorrow morning.
Only 10 people understood the first part of that one. And I'm happy that you do. But I'm trying to make a monitoring system for the rest of us, I think.
Lots of round brackets.
Yes.
Isn't that joke about the Russian spy who stole the last page of the Star Wars defense code, and all it is close brackets, and his leader was really pissed off with him. He said, but now we know they're using Lisp.
My other question is quality of service as well. You know, sometimes, especially you've got lots of machines, especially like, you know, some of you guys have probably got millions of them. So, you know, a disk check on a couple of jump box machines isn't as important, say, as a disk check on your main production database server. And when your monitoring system's under stress, you don't care about those, and you want like appoint quality of service to your high, really, really important decks and bugger off all the other ones when the
You could do that with handlers in Sensu.
It's hard to only run them in one place. I mean, Sensu knows about the master, you can't say, like, explicitly, the example is like ELB checks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have Elastic Load Balancers that are somewhere in the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
What checks them?
Any one of a number of servers. Why not run that check on? Why not run that check on every member of the ELB? Like, checks are cheap, man. Run them everywhere.
Sure, and alert for every single web server. Every single web server says there's one web server there.
No, because there are ways. Yeah, that is a fair point. There are ways to aggregate check handlers in Sensu. I mean, I've really only just touched the top of it. Go and read the docs page. I mean, I'm sure you have. And I'm not fobbing you off with that at all. But that case is specifically discussed, if I remember, or it used to be before they redid the fucking website to make it even less useful. Sensu are their own worst enemies, honestly.
So, and you talked about basically a sort of crappy historical open source project that we should move away from, and we should move towards a new shiny open source stack.
Yeah.
In reality, should we not actually just like fire 25% of us and move towards basically New Relic, Boundary, Paper Trail, PagerDuty,
Well, that's a
metrics?
philosophical discussion. If you're comfortable paying for that service, then I'm happy for you. But most of the places I've worked, this is mainly the reason that I enjoy open source, is as soon as I ask for money to do something, it's a problem. That's not true where I work now, but I don't feel like putting all that control in the hands of a few companies is the best way to go about things. There needs to be a solution for everybody, right? If you want to go commercial source, there are great commercial sources. I wish I could afford New Relic and Boundary for my entire fucking infrastructure, but I can't. I just can't. It's a huge amount of money.
2 employees, you know, worth of salary.
Yeah.
At scale, those 2 products.
Yeah, exactly.
I would advocate firing 2 of my colleagues in this room.
That's between you and your colleagues, a layer outside the pub.
It's like Nigel looking at me now, ironic, so was they. Like, which 2 of them am I going to...
Who uses?
They're a generation or 2 ahead. Like, Seconus, Boundary, Metrics, Paper Trail.
Why is that? Why is that?
And
People want it somewhere else.
Yeah, so they've got...
good developers on them. Like,
Okay.
Really smart people working on them.
What's to stop someone strapping all these tools together, right, contributing back to the open source project and forming a commercial company giving support around it? Red Hat. I mean, this model is known and proven. And sorry?
Well volunteered?
Man, I'll do it. I mean, I don't have any free time, but man, I'll do it. The 10 minutes before getting home from the pub and going to bed, yeah.
Forget about free time, why don't you just do it as your normal job? People will run to you if you believe this is such a critical problem. It's like, guess what Gareth is saying is, it's not such a critical problem.
No, it is a very critical problem.
But companies are willing to pay money to get rid of that problem. That's what it comes down to.
I'm happy for people who are willing to pay money to make the problem go away. I don't feel like that's the way forward. That's just my personal opinion. There's not actually really an argument there. I can't afford it. I've never really been able to afford it.
Open source should be a fast follower in this area. And like...
Yeah, but what sort of the whole point here is like people have been satisfied with Nagios because it's just good enough for a long time. It's sucking mindshare away from the rest of the monitoring community. And the reason that Boundary are like eating every other open source monitoring project's lunch is because the rest of us are busy getting shagged in the face by Nagios on a regular basis. So deciding that's good enough, like we're in an abusive relationship with Nagios, we need to divorce it and move to a shelter. I don't know why you're clapping. There was a guy over here who had a question, go on.
I guess this is a statement more than a question.
Well, we're all making statements tonight.
I know a guy called Adam Backer. He used to work for Yammer. I don't know if he's still there, but he built, he passed status.dat and he built a UI for Nagios in Minecraft, and I believe that validates.
I will both have to sort of beat and praise him at the same time. I'm not sure where to go with that.
I bet he did it by screen scraping the UI.
Lord in heaven.
That is the UI.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Okay, yeah, go. We've got 3 minutes, so...
If you're interested in creating another RMD, a collection of tools together, RMD is there because it's got a team of people maintaining the distribution, keeping up with versions, making sure they all integrate together with the changes that aren't being taken care of in the individual tools.
Yep.
If you want to make another bundle like that, someone's going to have to spend quite a lot of their personal time dealing with it unless it becomes a commercial tool.
That's true. Teams start with one, right? So if I start doing it, other people are likely to follow. And it's a bit different from working with like the Nagios community because it's full of crusty old people who don't give a shit. Whereas like Sean from Sensu is pretty damn responsive. The Graphite devs are all really responsive. Flapjack devs really responsive. Like we're living in a different age now where I could just file an issue on their project and they're going to take a look at it because they care, right? I think Nagios still, you have to use some crusty old mailing list system to report a bug, and even then, no one will give a fuck. So, like, I take your point, but I think the barrier is way lower now, and now is a really good time to do it. Now, while we've got all these really good projects, while all these really good devs are excited about it, we can basically abuse them to get what we want as ops people, all right? We're not dealing with Nagios people anymore. So I take your point, but teams start with one. So I'm going to get on it. Like, as soon as I've got some free time, I'm going to start trying to package this thing. I'll ping everybody here, and you can all laugh at me, basically, at how much time of my life I'm wasting. Go, in front.
In your magical
and that's what it's called.
you said you had a need for seeing when alerts are fired.
Yes.
What provides that? Because it's not Sensu.
No, unfortunately, the UI element of that has to kind of do it because it will be collecting events from the API. I kind of imagine that as a slightly separate service that's basically just sitting there consuming the API.
The API's got a very shallow history.
That's all I need because I'm going to be listening to it all the time. So I'm going to be listening to it and punting it off somewhere, which the UI is going to read.
But if you care about stuff that failed at 2 in the morning, it's gone by the time you come into the office.
Not if you grab graphite.
Well, no, sorry. Maybe I'm not being clear enough. So there will be a service there that's kind of analogous, can't even say that word, to Sensu server that's sitting there listening to the API and events that are occurring. It could even be passed to from a handler there. And all it's doing is sticking those events in a database that the UI can read. That's trivial, right? I think we can all write that in about 2 minutes. And it can be HA because it can just sit there like just pulling stuff off the API. Oh, it's already in the database, no worries. That's how I'll get my history. That's the only way to get the history.
Nagios TV.
Nagios TV? What do you mean?
Basically, it reads log file, puts it in the MySQL database, so you have history from whenever.
Yeah, but it's still using Nagios. I mean, yeah, I could do it that way. There are a number of ways I could do it. I could ship the Sensu log around and do it that way, or I could read the API. They're all pretty open. Anyway, this guy's telling me I've got to stop now. So thank you for listening to me be argumentative. Thank you very much.